Welcome to our channel. We are so glad you found your way here. Let us help you fall asleep. Let's begin with the quiet collapse of WorldCom, the corporate failure of financial fraud and greed. Take a slow, deep breath in and release it. Even the tallest towers eventually quiet down. Tonight, we gently explore the empty boardrooms and forgotten ambitions of the past. Your mind is calm, and we are ready to begin. The telecommunications market in the late 1990s experienced rapid growth and technological advancements. This period marked a significant shift in how individuals and businesses communicated. As the internet began to redefine connectivity, companies sought to expand their reach, often embracing mergers and acquisitions to bolster their market shares. WorldCom emerged as a key player within this landscape, positioning itself as a leader in long-distance services and network infrastructure. As demand for telecommunication services surged, so did investor confidence. This optimism fueled aggressive expansion efforts, prompting WorldCom to pursue an ambitious growth strategy. The acquisition of smaller firms allowed it to enhance its service offerings and expand its customer base. Financial projections painted a rosy picture, with expected revenues climbing at unprecedented rates. In this environment, the pressure to maintain growth and meet shareholder expectations intensified. The competitive landscape was marked by a frenzy of activity, with many companies attempting to outpace one another in an effort to dominate. This climate bred an atmosphere of risk-taking, where the line between legitimate business strategies and unethical practices blurred. Executives often prioritized short-term gains over long-term stability, leading to questionable decisions that would eventually contribute to widespread financial misconduct. In this tumultuous backdrop, WorldCom's trajectory became increasingly precarious, foreshadowing the collapse that would soon follow. WorldCom emerged in 1983 as a small telecommunications company in Mississippi, initially named Long Distance Discount Services. Its founders, Bernard Ebbers and Scott Sullivan, sought to capitalize on the deregulating telecommunications market, positioning the company for rapid expansion. Early growth strategies centered on aggressive acquisitions, enabling it to establish a significant market presence. In 1993, the acquisition of Metro Media Communications marked a pivotal moment, catapulting WorldCom into the ranks of major players. This bold move was followed by a series of strategic purchases, each designed to enhance the company's network capabilities and broaden its customer base. The relentless pursuit of market share, coupled with promises of lower costs, attracted a growing clientele. These ambitious expansion efforts were fueled by a culture that prioritized growth over sustainable practices. Revenue growth became the primary metric of success, overshadowing the need for ethical financial management. This relentless drive for expansion and profitability began to blur the lines of acceptable corporate conduct. As the 90s progressed, WorldCom's financial reports increasingly showcased impressive growth figures, concealing the underlying financial strain. The company's stock soared, creating an image of strength and stability. This facade would soon be tested as the pursuit of expansion took precedence over sustainable growth. Mergers and acquisitions became pivotal strategies in the quest to dominate the telecommunications landscape. The company engaged in aggressive consolidation, acquiring various firms to bolster its market presence. These endeavors initially appeared successful, leading to an expansion of services and a broadening of customer reach. The rapid integration of these entities, however, revealed underlying challenges. Each acquisition introduced complexities in operations and management. The push for quick assimilation often overlooked the cultural and logistical realities of merging distinct businesses. This neglect led to inefficiencies and a diluted brand identity, eroding the once clear vision that had guided the organization. Financial pressures intensified alongside these challenges. The need to demonstrate growth to investors created an environment ripe for questionable accounting practices. Underneath the surface, projections became increasingly optimistic, masking a reality that did not align with the company's financial health. It was a precarious balancing act that eventually tipped. As the financial reports began to reflect a dissonance between reported earnings and genuine performance, the initial excitement of mergers faded. Trust eroded, leaving a legacy marked by deception. This series of events set a course that would lead to the eventual unraveling of the corporate entity. Key figures in WorldCom's history emerged during its rise and subsequent decline, each contributing to the complex web of decisions that would culminate in financial disaster. Bernie Ebbers, the CEO and a central figure, projected an image of confidence and relentless ambition. Under his leadership, the company pursued aggressive expansion, acquiring various telecommunications firms. This strategy, while initially successful, masked underlying vulnerabilities. The executive team, complicit in these decisions, fostered a culture that prioritized short-term gains over ethical considerations. Their collective actions define the corporate ethos, where accountability was often overlooked in favor of rapid growth. Executives turned a blind eye to the mounting pressure to meet financial projections, leading to significant misreporting of earnings. The environment within this organization encouraged risk-taking, creating a dissonance between reality and reported performance. As the company's financial statements became increasingly inflated, confidence in the leadership began to wane. Investors, initially buoyed by the growth narrative, faced a harsh reckoning. The eventual revelation of the fraudulent activities shattered trust, leaving a legacy marked by the consequences of unchecked ambition and moral compromise. The powerful drive for success transformed into a cautionary tale, echoing across the corporate landscape. The impact of these key figures resonates, a testament to the fragility of integrity in the pursuit of profit. The competitive landscape was marked by aggressive maneuvers and an unrelenting quest for market dominance. WorldCom, once a formidable contender, faced the titans of the telecommunications industry, such as AT&T, whose legacy loomed large. This environment fostered a relentless drive for expansion, where the pressure to outperform rivals led to questionable decisions. Telecommunications giants engaged in a high-stakes game, vying for customer loyalty and market share. The focus shifted towards mergers and acquisitions as companies sought to enhance their portfolios. WorldCom's strategy included ambitious buyouts with intentions to outpace the competition. These moves, however, required significant financial resources and often raised eyebrows regarding sustainability. AT&T's established reputation provided it with a competitive edge, making WorldCom's aspirations increasingly tenuous. The ever-evolving technology and shifting consumer preferences compounded the challenges faced by all players in this sector. This region, once vibrant with innovation, began to show signs of strain as companies struggled to balance growth with ethical practices. Inevitably, the pressure mounted, creating a fertile ground for malfeasance. As WorldCom pushed boundaries to maintain relevance, it began to blur the line between ambition and deceit. The consequences of these decisions, initially hidden behind financial statements, would soon unfold, revealing the underlying vulnerabilities within the industry's framework. The environment during the dot-com boom provided fertile ground for rapid expansion. Investors, driven by unprecedented optimism, poured capital into technology and telecommunications companies, perceiving limitless potential. This region became a hotbed for innovation, where the allure of new technologies ignited fervent speculation. WorldCom, with its aggressive acquisitions and promises of high returns, positioned itself to capitalize on this wave. The surge in stock prices was intoxicating. As the market soared, so too did expectations. Companies were rewarded not solely for their profitability, but for their vision and perceived market dominance. This mindset led to inflated valuations, creating an atmosphere where fiscal prudence took a backseat to growth at any cost. WorldCom, emerging as a major player, thrived amid this frenzy. The acquisition of MCI, touted as a strategic coup, further solidified its status. Financial maneuvering ensued as they sought to maintain a facade of unrestrained success. Earnings reports, polished to project a narrative of invincibility, masked the growing discontent lurking beneath the surface. The culture within the organization became one of hyper-competition, where achieving quarterly targets overshadowed ethical considerations. Leadership, consumed by ambition, began to blur the lines between reality and aspiration, setting the stage for eventual reckoning. The unchecked exuberance, once a catalyst for innovation, began to sow the seeds of profound instability. The infrastructure investments made by WorldCom were initially viewed as a cornerstone of its ambitious growth strategy. This network, a sprawling backbone of fiber optics, connected vast swathes of the country, facilitating unprecedented data transmission and communication. It was a time when the internet was emerging as a vital entity, and those investments positioned the company as a leader in telecommunications. In this region, WorldCom's infrastructure was not merely a technical achievement. It represented the culmination of a vision that sought to interconnect businesses and consumers alike. The extensive fiber optic cables sprawled across landscapes, bearing the weight of millions of digital communications. Each mile of cable symbolized the potential for connectivity and economic expansion. As financial pressures mounted, the initial promise of these investments began to erode. The lavish spending, once justified by soaring demand for internet services, became increasingly scrutinized. The deeper the company delved into its accounting practices, the more the original vision faded into a background of obfuscation and misrepresentation. The consequences of such financial maneuvering were insidious. The once prominent infrastructure, a vital component of the digital age, became overshadowed by the unraveling of trust and integrity. This decline signaled not only the fate of a corporation, but also the fragility inherent in the digital economies that had come to define the era. The acquisition of MFS Communications marked a pivotal moment in the trajectory of this fading giant. It was a strategic maneuver, one that promised to bolster market position and expand service offerings. The merging of resources seemed to reflect a vision of growth, aiming to capitalize on the burgeoning demand for data services in the late 90s. This union was perceived as a pathway to fortify its presence in the telecommunications landscape. As integration commenced, a veneer of optimism cloaked the internal challenges. The ambitious goals set forth were met with increasing pressure to deliver financial results, pushing management towards questionable decisions. The allure of profitability clouded judgment, leading to aggressive accounting practices that would later unravel the illusion of success. Operational complexities arose, stretching the resources of both organizations. Despite the apparent benefits of the consolidation, inefficiencies began to surface. Customer dissatisfaction grew as service quality declined, revealing cracks in the foundation built upon the promise of seamless connectivity. Consequently, the ambitious pursuit of expansion through acquisition became a double-edged sword. While it initially appeared to enhance capabilities, the underlying financial mismanagement and eventual fraudulent reporting would cast a long shadow over the entire endeavor. Trust eroded, and the consequences of these decisions would resonate far beyond the boardroom, impacting employees and investors alike. The Telecommunications Act of 1996 marked a significant shift in the regulatory landscape for the industry. This legislation aimed to foster competition and innovation, dismantling barriers that previously hindered market entry. It created an environment where companies sought to expand aggressively, often prioritizing growth over sustainable practices. In this context, the fading company pursued acquisitions and mergers with fervor, believing that increased market share would lead to greater profitability. This act empowered both new and existing firms to innovate, yet it also intensified the race for dominance. Companies were compelled to adopt increasingly risky financial strategies to maintain a competitive edge. The allure of rapid expansion drove businesses to engage in dubious accounting practices, often veiling the true state of their financial health. Within this shifting climate, ethical lines blurred as executives sought to appease investors with optimistic projections. Consequently, the consequences of these regulatory changes rippled through the telecommunications sector. Overvaluation became commonplace, and the aggressive pursuit of market supremacy led to unsustainable business models. As earnings reports became increasingly divorced from reality, the seeds of mistrust were sown among stakeholders. This regulatory environment, once heralded as a catalyst for growth. These practices, once seen as innovative, began to reveal vulnerabilities that would later contribute to significant failures. The telecommunications industry thrived on intricate financial strategies, which were often complex and opaque. Such complexity provided opportunities for manipulation, as companies navigated a landscape laden with competition and technological advancements. The reliance on aggressive accounting methods became commonplace, allowing firms to present a misleading picture of their financial health. Techniques such as earnings management and revenue recognition timing obscured actual performance. This region, known for its rapid growth and technological evolution, found itself embroiled in ethical dilemmas, where the pressure to meet investor expectations often outweighed fiscal integrity. The consequences of these practices were far-reaching. Trust eroded among stakeholders as the facade of profitability crumbled under scrutiny. Investors began to question the accuracy of financial statements, leading to a climate of skepticism that permeated the industry. In this environment, the distinction between legitimate financial strategy and deceptive practices grew increasingly blurred. The ramifications of such accounting behaviors not only affected individual companies, but also cast a shadow over the entire telecommunications sector. The introduction of generally accepted accounting principles marked a pivotal moment in financial reporting, offering a framework intended to ensure consistency and transparency in corporate financial statements. These guidelines emerged from the necessity to restore public trust in the wake of widespread scandals. They established a standard for accurate representation of a company's financial health, focusing on clarity and accountability. GAAP delineates specific principles to govern the preparation of financial statements, emphasizing accuracy, reliability, and comparability. This set of rules serves as a beacon in an otherwise murky landscape, aiming to protect investors and stakeholders from the deceptive practices that had proliferated during periods of corporate excess. With a commitment to upholding ethical reporting, GAAP encourages companies to disclose their financial condition honestly, thereby reducing the risk of manipulation. In this environment, it became increasingly clear that adherence to these principles was critical. Violations not only threatened the integrity of individual organizations, but also had widespread implications for investor confidence and market stability. The repercussions of neglecting GAAP were stark, as demonstrated by the fallout from high-profile cases. The push for compliance transformed the way financial data was communicated, fostering a culture where transparency was paramount. Gradually, these principles became embedded in corporate governance, driving a shift towards more responsible financial practices. Investor expectations began to transform significantly. A collective realization emerged that growth alone was no longer a sufficient metric for success. The relentless pursuit of expansion gave way to a more discerning focus on profitability. This shift reverberated throughout financial markets, altering the landscape of corporate accountability. In this evolving environment, investors started to prioritize sustainable earnings over aggressive growth projections. The emphasis shifted towards balance sheets that reflected reality rather than speculative forecasts. Companies began to face increased scrutiny regarding their financial practices, with stakeholders demanding transparency and integrity. In this region, the once unquestioned allure of rapid growth lost its luster. Investors recognized that consistent profitability was essential for long-term stability. This shift prompted many firms to reassess their strategies, aligning operations with the new expectations. Initiatives that previously emphasized expansion now integrated rigorous financial controls, aimed at safeguarding against potential mismanagement and fraud. The focus on profitability fostered a culture of accountability, compelling executives to prioritize ethical decision-making. The consequences of neglecting this principle became evident as companies faced heightened risks of investor backlash and diminished market confidence. In this atmosphere of caution, the rise of due diligence became paramount, and firms found themselves reorienting not just their practices, but their very foundations in response to the clear messages from the investment community. Analysts and investors played a critical role in shaping the trajectory of the fading company. Their assessments heavily influenced market perceptions, and this environment fostered a sense of invincibility around the organization, as bullish recommendations consistently overshadowed any emerging concerns. Analysts, motivated by the potential for lucrative commissions, frequently overlooked inconsistencies in financial statements, allowing the company to operate under a veil of confidence. Their enthusiastic endorsements served to bolster stock prices, creating an illusion of stability and prosperity. When signs of distress did emerge, the reaction from this community was often muted. Many remained reluctant to reassess their positions, clinging to the belief that WorldCom would. The culture of greed permeated the corporate environment at WorldCom. This atmosphere, steeped in ambition and competitive fervor, fostered an ethos where profit was prioritized above all else. Employees, driven by the promise of bonuses tied to performance metrics, engaged in increasingly questionable practices. The desire to maintain stock prices led to the normalization of financial manipulation. Executives, emboldened by their successes, increasingly pushed the boundaries of ethical conduct, believing themselves invincible within a system that rewarded aggressive strategies. This environment cultivated a profound disconnect between reality and perception. Teams operated under immense pressure to meet unrealistic goals, often sacrificing integrity for short-term gains. Fear of repercussions stifled dissent. Those who questioned the prevailing tactics faced isolation and career jeopardy. The leadership's focus on results rather than processes created an illusion of stability, hiding the cracks that would eventually lead to collapse. As the years progressed, the corporate culture became increasingly toxic. Loyalty shifted from adherence to ethical standards to an unwavering allegiance to the company's growth. Auditors, once guardians of accountability, were rendered ineffective by the pervasive atmosphere of compliance with unethical directives. The eventual revelation of financial misconduct shattered the facade, exposing the consequences of prioritizing greed over transparency. This decline serves as a reminder of the fragility inherent in unchecked ambition. The relentless pressure to meet earnings projections created an environment ripe for malfeasance. Executives, driven by an insatiable need to uphold stock prices, found themselves ensnared in a web of deceit. Each quarter, the looming deadlines brought a heightened sense of urgency. Expectations from shareholders loomed large, a constant reminder of the financial commitments made by the organization. In this atmosphere, ethical considerations began to erode. The pursuit of financial performance overshadowed the integrity of reporting. It became commonplace for individuals to manipulate numbers, to create illusions of profitability that would pacify investors and analysts alike. These practices were often rationalized as necessary measures to maintain the facade of success, blurring the lines between reality and perception. As the practices escalated, the culture within the organization shifted dramatically. Transparency gave way to secrecy, and trust eroded amongst colleagues. The executives, once celebrated leaders, became increasingly isolated in their ambitions, driven not by the company's long-term health, but by a fixation on short-term gains. This mindset fostered an environment where the consequences of failure were deemed too great, and the allure of immediate rewards overshadowed the ethical implications of their actions. Pressure to deliver consistent growth became increasingly palpable. Executives found themselves navigating a labyrinth of expectations, where even minor missteps could result in severe repercussions. This environment gave rise to subtle accounting irregularities, often dismissed as mere adjustments. Initial discrepancies were small, often hidden beneath layers of complex financial reporting and jargon. This region of corporate governance began to show early warning signs, overlooked by many in favor of immediate gains. In the pursuit of quarterly targets, inflated revenue figures emerged, cloaked in the guise of legitimate business transactions. It became common for these figures to be adjusted, creating an illusion of stability and growth. Whispers of discrepancies circulated among employees, yet fear of retaliation stifled open discussion. The culture, once rooted in innovation, devolved into one prioritizing performance over integrity. Basic principles of transparency became compromised as the pursuit of profit overshadowed accountability. Financial statements, once a reflection of operational health, morphed into misleading portrayals. With each passing quarter, the reality of the company's financial situation eroded, as the gap between reported and actual performance widened. These irregularities, initially perceived as mere adjustments, planted the seeds for a much larger corporate crisis. The role of internal auditors became critical in navigating the complexities of financial management within the organization. These professionals were tasked with ensuring compliance with established standards and practices. Their intent was to serve as a safeguard against potential mismanagement and unethical behavior. Yet, as the situation evolved, their oversight mechanisms faltered. Internal auditors found themselves influenced by a culture that prioritized aggressive growth and profit margins over transparency. The pressures of performance metrics often overshadowed their primary responsibilities, leading to oversight failures. It became increasingly common for auditors to overlook discrepancies in financial reporting, allowing misleading practices to persist unchecked. In this region, the consequences were profound. Reliance on internal assessments created a false sense of security among stakeholders, further entrenching the misjudgments that permeated the organization. The disconnect between the auditors and the reality of operations contributed to a climate where unethical behavior could thrive. Reports that should have highlighted inconsistencies instead reflected an illusion of stability. This environment fostered complacency, rendering the very mechanisms intended to guard against misconduct ineffective. As the organization's foundation crumbled, it became clear that these failures in oversight had far-reaching implications, culminating in a corporate collapse that resonated throughout the financial landscape. The influence of stock price on corporate decision-making became increasingly pronounced in the wake of WorldCom's decline. Executives, driven by the relentless pursuit of higher stock valuations, began prioritizing short-term gains over sustainable growth. This fixation often eclipsed the ethical considerations that should have guided their actions. The allure of inflated stock prices created an environment where decisions were made not in the interest of long-term stability, but rather in response to immediate market pressures. These pressures led to a culture of complacency, where financial reporting became a tool for manipulation. The desire to maintain an upward trajectory prompted executives to engage in practices that distorted the true financial health of the company. This region witnessed a troubling normalization of such behavior, as the line between acceptable accounting practices and outright fraud blurred. In this atmosphere, the once revered ideals of transparency and accountability were overshadowed by a relentless chase for profitability. The repercussions of prioritizing stock price over integrity manifested not only in the erosion of investor trust, but also in widespread job losses and economic fallout. As the once thriving organization deteriorated, it served as a cautionary tale of how the fixation on financial metrics can lead to moral compromise and the manipulation of financial reporting practices became a pivotal factor in this decline. Non-recurring items, often employed to present a more favorable financial picture, were used extensively. These items, characterized by their infrequency and unpredictability, provided a means to obscure underlying financial realities. By classifying various expenses and losses as non-recurring, this organization could artificially inflate earnings, creating an illusion of stability and growth. These adjustments, while technically permissible under certain accounting standards, fostered a culture of deceit. The line between acceptable financial practices and fraudulent representation blurred, leading to an environment where ethical considerations were sacrificed for perceived gain. Analysts and investors, reliant on accurate data to inform their decisions, were misled by the polished facade of profitability. As reliance on these tactics increased, the organization found itself entangled in a web of misinformation. Auditors, tasked with validating financial statements, faced challenges in discerning genuine performance from manufactured success. Trust eroded, and the consequences became inevitable. The use of non-recurring items not only distorted the financial landscape, but also played a critical role in the eventual exposure of malfeasance. As the facade crumbled, the repercussions reverberated through the industry, marking a significant chapter in the narrative of corporate governance failures. The switch to capitalizing expenses marked a pivotal moment in this region's financial practices. This strategy, intended to inflate earnings by shifting costs from the income statement to the balance sheet, created an illusion of stability. Managers believed that by manipulating these figures, they could portray a more favorable financial outlook. This approach, however, was fraught with ethical dilemmas and set the stage for future complications. In an effort to sustain a competitive edge, the company relied heavily on this controversial accounting method. The alignment of financial statements became increasingly tenuous as it masked the reality of operational performance. Investors, seeking reliable indicators of health, were misled by the reported figures. Trust eroded as the true state of affairs remained obscured behind layers of meticulously crafted numbers. The internal culture, once vibrant, shifted towards a more insular environment where conformity overshadowed integrity. Employees, aware of the discrepancies, grappled with moral conflicts. The decision to prioritize short-term gains over long-term sustainability deepened the chasms within the organization. As the environment became increasingly strained, concerns about compliance with regulatory standards emerged. The consequences of this accounting strategy would soon unfold, revealing the fragility of a system built on illusion rather than substance. The transition from ethical accountability to fiscal manipulation illustrated the dangerous allure of financial engineering in the quest for profitability. The creation of cookie jar reserves marked a pivotal moment in this narrative. These reserves allowed the organization to shift profits from one period to another, enabling a facade of consistent earnings. This practice relied on the deliberate overestimation of expenses in profitable quarters, creating a cushion that could later be drawn upon during less favorable times. Through this method, it became possible to maintain an artificially smooth financial performance, evading the scrutiny that often accompanies fluctuating results. As the company faced mounting pressure from investors to deliver robust returns, reliance on these reserves grew increasingly pronounced. The pursuit of short-term gains overshadowed long-term stability, as executives prioritized immediate shareholder satisfaction over ethical considerations. This mechanism of manipulating earnings fed a cycle of deceit, leading stakeholders to believe in a sustained growth trajectory that was far from reality. In this environment, the lines between acceptable accounting practices and fraudulent behavior blurred. The allure of financial engineering, coupled with a culture that celebrated aggressive tactics, fostered an atmosphere where integrity waned. As reliance on these reserves intensified, the foundation of trust that held the organization together began to erode, revealing cracks that would. The impact of the 1999 acquisition of Sprint marked a pivotal moment for the fading company. This strategic decision, initially perceived as a bold step into a new era of telecommunications, unraveled complexities that would. Integrating Sprint's extensive network and customer base proved more challenging than anticipated. Cultural clashes emerged, creating dissonance within teams that once operated in harmony. The ambitious plans to revolutionize the market began to falter under the weight of logistical difficulties and competing priorities. Financial performance became increasingly critical, with pressure mounting to deliver on expectations set forth by investors. Compounding issues within the integration process led to heightened scrutiny. This environment fostered a culture of desperation, where short-term gains were prioritized over sustainable practices. Actions taken in response to these challenges reflected a shift in ethical considerations. Financial discrepancies began to surface as executives sought to obscure losses and inflate revenues to maintain the facade of growth. The acquisition, meant to solidify their position in the market, instead became emblematic of a deeper malaise, demonstrating how ambition, unchecked by integrity, can lead to a gradual, inevitable collapse. The external auditors played a crucial role in shaping the trajectory of this enterprise. Arthur Andersen, once regarded as a prestigious firm, found itself entangled in a web of complicity and oversight. Their involvement began with the expectation of ensuring transparency and accountability within the financial practices of this fading company. Instead, a troubling alliance formed, characterized by a troubling blend of trust and negligence. The auditors tasked with the responsibility of scrutinizing financial statements became increasingly complacent. This complacency allowed discrepancies to flourish, enabling the company to misrepresent its financial health. The allure of lucrative contracts and a growing relationship with the corporate leadership may have clouded judgment. As irregularities began to surface, the oversight intended to safeguard stakeholders eroded, paving the way for a profound ethical failure. In this region of corporate oversight, the line between auditor and advisor blurred, leading to a lack of critical scrutiny. This environment fostered a culture where ambition overshadowed ethical considerations. The ramifications of this betrayal unfolded slowly, yet surely, revealing a landscape littered with broken trust and shattered reputations. The once revered firm. The consequences of rapid growth manifested in staggering complexity as the company expanded its operations. This region saw an aggressive acquisition strategy that led to a diverse portfolio, encompassing numerous telecommunications firms and services. Emphasis on market share overshadowed the necessity for cohesive management. Fragmented operations made oversight increasingly challenging, resulting in inefficiencies that would soon surface. Increasing pressure to meet financial targets contributed to a culture where short-term gains eclipsed long-term sustainability. Internal reports hinted at disarray among various divisions, each vying for resources while the overarching strategy remained unclear. This environment fostered a disconnect between leadership and the realities on the ground. Employees found themselves navigating a labyrinth of corporate directives, often without sufficient support or clarity regarding their roles. Financial reports began to reflect discrepancies, revealing inflated revenue figures that masked underlying problems. The growing disconnect between reality and reported performance was alarming, but went largely unaddressed amid the fervor of expansion. Analysts, caught up in the excitement of a rapidly evolving industry, overlooked the signs of distress. As the financial fabric of the firm unraveled, it became apparent that the very strategies that had driven growth were now sowing the seeds of decline. The once-proud giant was reduced to a cautionary tale, echoing through the corridors of corporate governance. In the early 2000 years, the first signs of trouble emerged quietly, yet they were significant. Stock prices began to decline, a subtle yet alarming indication of underlying issues. Investors, once confident in its growth trajectory, became increasingly wary as the value of shares slipped from their previous highs. This decline marked the beginning of an unraveling that would soon capture the attention of analysts and shareholders alike. Amidst this backdrop, whispers of financial discrepancies started to circulate, hinting at deeper vulnerabilities within its financial practices. The once vibrant trading floors grew quieter as the palpable excitement transformed into uncertainty. Analysts scrutinized quarterly earnings reports, searching for explanations that eluded them. The metrics that had once inspired confidence now raised red flags as revenues appeared inflated. The atmosphere shifted, with stockholders growing restless. Institutional investors began to reassess their positions, questioning the sustainability of this entity's expansion strategy. This growing skepticism did not go unnoticed by corporate leadership, who sought to reassure stakeholders through public statements, attempting to mask the deteriorating situation with optimistic projections. Yet beneath the surface, the rot deepened. The facade of stability cracked, revealing a frail foundation built upon a web of accounting irregularities. The stage was set for a reckoning that would redefine corporate governance and ethical standards in the years to follow. The board of directors faced mounting scrutiny as the financial discrepancies became increasingly apparent. Comprised of individuals with diverse backgrounds, their collective oversight was intended to safeguard the integrity of operations. Instead, it became a focal point for criticism. The members, many of whom were seasoned professionals, struggled to maintain effective governance amidst a culture that prioritized growth above ethical boundaries. Internal meetings often reflected a disconnection from the realities of the company's financial practices. Reports that should have raised red flags were met with complacency, suggesting a troubling lack of due diligence. The environment fostered a sense of loyalty to the executives rather than accountability to stakeholders. It was here that conflicts of interest began to surface, complicating the already fragile trust between management and the board. Discussions about the company's future shifted increasingly towards justifying inflated profits rather than addressing underlying issues. Pressure to meet ambitious targets overshadowed the responsibility to uphold transparency. As corporate ethics waned, the board's ability to act as a check on executive power diminished. The consequences of these governance challenges resonated far beyond the confines of the boardroom, extending to the lives of employees, investors, and the broader community. The impact of these decisions would linger long after the company's collapse. The Securities and Exchange Commission, often tasked with ensuring market integrity, found itself at a crossroads during the WorldCom crisis. Regulatory oversight appeared to be a game of catch-up, as the magnitude of the financial discrepancies began to surface. Investigations were launched, revealing an intricate web of fraud that had gone unchecked for years. This institution, designed to protect investors and maintain transparency, struggled to navigate the murky waters of corporate malfeasance. Scrutiny intensified as auditors raised alarms, yet the deception persisted, hidden beneath layers of misleading financial statements. The agency's response involved a painstaking review of WorldCom's accounting practices. As the details emerged, the once-esteemed telecommunications giant began to unravel. The SEC's role shifted from oversight to enforcement, leading to enforcement actions and penalties in an attempt to restore investor confidence. Public trust dwindled as questions arose about the effectiveness of regulatory frameworks and their ability to preempt such widespread corruption. In this environment, the reputation of the agency itself became entwined with the company's downfall. The fallout from WorldCom's collapse forced a reevaluation of regulatory measures, highlighting systemic weaknesses within the existing oversight protocols. The lessons learned sparked discussions that extended well beyond this singular case, shaping the future landscape of corporate regulation. Bernie Ebbers emerged as a prominent figure within the corporate landscape, characterized by a leadership style that emphasized personal charisma and an aggressive pursuit of growth. His approach fostered an environment that prioritized expansion over ethical considerations, often blurring the lines between ambition and ethical responsibility. The atmosphere within the company shifted as success became synonymous with relentless acquisition and market dominance, underpinned by a culture that celebrated risk-taking. This aggressive pursuit of growth resulted in a significant transformation of the organization, which rapidly evolved into one of the largest telecommunications companies in the United States. It was during this period that financial practices began to deteriorate, as pressure to maintain an upward trajectory led to increasingly questionable accounting methods. The leadership style prioritized short-term results, creating an environment where transparency took a backseat to the illusion of success. As the company expanded, so did the influence of Ebbers. His decisions often overshadowed the voices of dissent, effectively silencing concerns about ethical practices and financial integrity. The consequences of this leadership approach became evident as cracks began to surface within the financial framework. The internal environment grew increasingly tense as the weight of undisclosed liabilities pressed heavily on the organization. In this landscape of obscured finances, a pivotal figure emerged. Cynthia Cooper, an internal auditor, began to pull at the threads of deception woven throughout the financial statements. What started as an ordinary review of accounts slowly transformed into a meticulous investigation. The more Cooper scrutinized the data, the clearer the discrepancies became. Financial reports painted an idyllic picture, yet the underlying figures revealed a starkly different reality. The volume of inflated assets seemed insurmountable, and the deception reached into the billions. This region of misrepresentation was not merely a series of accounting errors. It was an orchestrated effort to mask the company's dire condition. Cooper's discoveries led her to confront her superiors, where her findings were initially met with resistance. The prevailing culture discouraged dissent, prioritizing loyalty over transparency. Despite this, her persistence bore fruit. The subsequent reports she filed initiated a series of investigations that would. As revelations unfolded, the company's facade crumbled, revealing the catastrophic extent of financial malpractice. This moment marked the beginning of the end for the once mighty corporation, as the truth unraveled the illusion of stability that had been meticulously maintained. The internal investigation began promptly, driven by an urgent need to restore credibility amidst the chaos. An audit committee was assembled, composed of seasoned professionals tasked with dissecting the financial anomalies that had emerged. Their objective was clear: to uncover the extent of the discrepancies and determine the accountability of those involved. In the heart of the organization, a meticulous review of accounting practices commenced. It revealed a culture steeped in deception, where financial statements had been manipulated to fabricate a facade of profitability. The committee scrutinized ledgers, correspondence, and reports, seeking clarity in the murky waters of corporate governance. Whispers of malfeasance echoed through the halls of the headquarters as employees grappled with the implications of what was unfolding. The committee's findings soon illuminated a coordinated effort to inflate earnings and mislead investors. Tensions escalated as key executives were implicated, leading to a profound sense of betrayal among those who had placed their trust in leadership. It became increasingly apparent that the organization was teetering on the brink of financial ruin. External auditors, once seen as guardians of financial integrity, faced scrutiny as well. The investigation exposed a troubling rapport between the corporation and its auditing firm, highlighting systemic failures in oversight. This unraveling narrative served as a stark reminder of the fragility inherent in corporate structures and the consequences of unchecked ambition. The decision to restate financials marked a pivotal moment in the company's history. This admission signaled a profound acknowledgement of misrepresentation that permeated the organization. It stemmed from a desire to present an image of unwavering growth and stability. Figures once touted as indicators of success were recalibrated, revealing stark discrepancies in earnings that had misled investors and analysts alike. This corrective action exposed not only the depth of the financial discrepancies, but also the culture of deceit that had taken root within the ranks. Internal communications hinted at a systemic failure to uphold ethical standards, fostering an environment where truth was often overshadowed by ambition. The restatement process unveiled a cascade of revelations, triggering investigations that would further erode confidence in the organization. Trust, once the bedrock of stakeholder relationships, began to dissolve as the realization of the extent of the financial manipulation became clear. The atmosphere shifted, transforming from one of optimism to a landscape fraught with uncertainty and skepticism. This turning point served as a cautionary tale, illustrating the inherent dangers of prioritizing profit over integrity within corporate governance. The magnitude of the fraud became apparent as investigations unfolded, revealing staggering financial distortions. Estimated losses reached a staggering $11 billion, a sum that resonated through the corridors of Wall Street. This revelation marked one of the most significant scandals in corporate history, casting shadows over the entire telecommunications sector. Shareholders, lured by the promise of growth, suffered devastating blows as stock prices plummeted. Once a titan of the industry, the company's market capitalization dwindled to mere fragments of its former self. The ripples of this financial collapse extended far beyond the confines of the organization, impacting thousands of employees and erasing retirement savings for many. Creditors, once confident in the corporation's stability, faced insurmountable losses, which prompted a series of bankruptcies within the surrounding ecosystem of suppliers and business partners. Regulatory bodies responded with heightened scrutiny, reshaping the landscape of corporate governance nationwide. The legal ramifications unfolded methodically, with multiple executives facing criminal charges, leading to a protracted series of trials. Settlements and fines resulted in further financial burdens, only compounding the initial losses experienced by investors. This unfortunate chapter illustrated the profound consequences of ethical lapses, leaving an indelible mark on the corporate world and reshaping the standards of accountability and transparency in business practices. The filing for Chapter 11 occurred in July 2002, marking a pivotal moment in the landscape of corporate governance. This decision came amidst revelations of staggering financial irregularities, which totaled over $11 billion in inflated assets. The once mighty telecommunications giant, once considered a titan in its field, found itself enveloped in a cloud of mistrust and disbelief. With its assets and liabilities both exceeding $38 billion, the magnitude of the bankruptcy was unprecedented at the time. This event sent ripples through the market, eroding the confidence of investors and stakeholders alike. Employees faced an uncertain future, as thousands were left grappling with job losses and retirement savings diminished to mere shadows of their former values. As the dust settled in the aftermath, it became clear that the repercussions extended far beyond the company's walls. Regulatory bodies and lawmakers scrambled to address the gaps in oversight that had allowed such misconduct to flourish unchecked. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act emerged in response, aiming to enhance corporate accountability and restore investor trust. The ruins of this once thriving enterprise serve as a cautionary tale, highlighting the fragility of corporate integrity. In the years that followed, the lessons learned would shape the future of business practices, ensuring that the echoes of this downfall would resonate through the annals of corporate history. The telecommunications industry bore significant scars from this collapse. Financial instability permeated the atmosphere, leaving competitors wary and consumers uncertain. Once regarded as a titan, it now stood as a cautionary tale, cautioning against unchecked ambition and greed. The repercussions rippled through the market, leading to a reevaluation of business models and corporate governance. Investors adopted a more skeptical view, scrutinizing balance sheets and revenue projections with heightened vigilance. This newfound scrutiny imposed a sense of caution that stifled innovation, as companies became preoccupied with compliance rather than growth. The fallout prompted a wave of regulatory reforms aimed at enhancing transparency and accountability across the sector. These changes, while necessary, also contributed to an environment of increased bureaucracy. Market consolidation followed. Smaller players struggled to survive amidst the prevailing fear, leading to mergers and acquisitions that reshaped the competitive landscape. The once vibrant scene transformed into a more homogenized industry, with fewer entities dominating the marketplace. This selectivity diminished diversity in services and offerings, as companies focused on stability over exploration. Employment within the industry also suffered, with layoffs becoming commonplace. Talented individuals found themselves displaced, contributing to a talent drain that would have lasting ramifications. This seismic shift in the telecommunications sector illustrated the far-reaching effects of one company's downfall, reverberating well beyond its immediate confines. The fallout for employees manifested in a stark and immediate manner. Thousands faced unexpected job losses, their futures abruptly altered. This corporate failure, while primarily a tale of financial malpractice, cascaded into the lives of many, leaving a wake of uncertainty and despair. The atmosphere in the offices shifted from optimism to dread, as workers were left to grapple with the ramifications of their employers' actions. Severance packages were offered, but they often proved inadequate. For some, the financial compensation did little to cushion the blow of unemployment. Long-standing employees, who had dedicated years to the company, found themselves navigating the job market with little guidance or support. This region, once bustling with activity, now echoed with the quiet resignation of those who had invested their hopes and dreams in the now failing enterprise. The surrounding community felt the effects as well, as local businesses that had thrived on WorldCom's presence faced declining sales and reduced foot traffic. The ripple effect extended into neighborhoods, where families experienced the stress of financial instability. Skills acquired over years became obsolete in an industry that shifted rapidly, adding another layer of complexity to the search for new opportunities. In the aftermath, the sobering reality of loss and the struggle for recovery defined a period marked by the stark consequences of corporate greed. Stockholders faced profound disillusionment as revelations of financial malfeasance emerged. Many had invested their savings, trusting in the integrity of the corporation. The sudden collapse shattered not only portfolios, but also the trust that underpinned their financial decisions. Investor outrage grew palpable, echoing through courtrooms and media outlets alike. Class action lawsuits soon followed, a collective response to perceived injustice and betrayal. Legal teams assembled to represent the thousands affected, seeking restitution for the financial losses incurred. This mobilization of shareholders highlighted the stark divide between corporate executives and those whose livelihoods depended on the company's success. Claims of negligence and deceit became common threads in the legal narratives woven by aggrieved investors. Emotions ran high as the former stewards of the once mighty entity faced scrutiny. The frustration manifested in protests, public statements, and detailed accounts of the impact on personal lives. Stories of retirement plans evaporating, children's college funds depleted, and dreams deferred filled the airwaves, intensifying the demand for accountability. This period became a watershed moment for corporate governance, as stakeholders clamored for reform. Regulatory bodies responded by tightening oversight and implementing measures aimed at preventing future abuses. The collective response illustrated the deep scars left by the events and the enduring quest for justice in the wake of corporate misconduct. Criminal charges emerged as a response to the extensive financial mismanagement that characterized the downfall. High-ranking executives faced scrutiny as investigations unfolded, revealing a complex web of deceit. Individuals associated with the company, including its chief executive officer and chief financial officer, were indicted on multiple counts of securities fraud, conspiracy, and making false statements. Each charge represented not only individual accountability, but also a broader condemnation of the corporate culture that permitted such actions. The judicial proceedings unfolded methodically over several years, reflecting the intricate nature of the financial crimes. Evidence presented in court detailed tactics employed to inflate earnings and mislead investors. Testimonies from whistleblowers illuminated the pervasive atmosphere of fear and complicity, where ethical considerations were overshadowed by a relentless pursuit of profit. This region became a focal point for legal debates surrounding corporate governance and executive responsibility. The unfolding scandal drew significant media attention, revealing a complex web of deception that captivated public interest. Investigative reporting emerged as a crucial element, dissecting the financial practices that had allowed the company to inflate its earnings for several years. Reports detailed the internal communications, illustrating a culture that prioritized profit over ethical standards. Headlines painted a stark picture of corporate malfeasance, serving both to inform and to alarm the public. Television broadcasts and print articles provided a steady stream of information, detailing the staggering scale of the fraud and its implications for investors. As the company's financial statements came under scrutiny, journalists uncovered the intricate methods used to manipulate financial reports, prompting wider discussions about accountability in corporate America. This scrutiny extended beyond WorldCom, raising questions about the regulatory environment and the role of oversight bodies. The media narrative evolved to include the human cost of the scandal, highlighting the impact on employees and shareholders. Stories of layoffs and lost retirement savings resonated with a public already sensitive to corporate misconduct. This reporting helped to shape perceptions of the crisis, with an emphasis on both the perpetrators and the systems that enabled such actions. In the aftermath, calls for greater transparency and reform echoed through news cycles, marking a turning point in how corporate governance was viewed. The repercussions of the WorldCom scandal extended beyond the beleaguered corporation, casting a long shadow over Arthur Andersen. Once a titan in the accounting industry, this firm faced insurmountable scrutiny as revelations of unethical practices surfaced. Accusations of collusion and negligence emerged, leading to a swift erosion of trust among clients and the public. This decline unfolded methodically, as investigations revealed a pattern of questionable auditing practices. A significant aspect was the firm's involvement in the financial misstatements that characterized WorldCom's fraudulent activities. The once respected brand became synonymous with failure, as its reputation deteriorated under the weight of mounting allegations. The fallout resulted in a dramatic loss of business, with clients withdrawing contracts and seeking alternatives. Amid this turmoil, the firm's internal structure began to fracture. Employees faced uncertainty, and many sought refuge in rival firms, further depleting the resources and expertise available to Arthur Andersen. Legal battles ensued, leading to substantial financial liabilities that the firm struggled to manage. The culmination of these events led to the complete dissolution of Arthur Andersen in 2002, marking one of the most significant collapses in corporate history. The firm's downfall served as a cautionary tale, illustrating the profound consequences of compromised ethics and oversight in the financial sector. The aftermath of the firm's collapse prompted an immediate response from governmental bodies, recognizing the urgent need for regulatory reform in the wake of widespread financial malpractice. In 2002, Congress enacted the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, a legislative measure designed to enhance corporate governance and accountability. This act introduced stringent requirements for financial reporting and internal controls, seeking to restore investor confidence eroded by high-profile failures. Provisions mandated that top executives personally certify the accuracy of financial statements, imposing significant penalties for non-compliance. This legislation aimed to create a culture of transparency, compelling firms to disclose financial conditions with greater clarity and accuracy. The establishment of the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board served as an additional layer of scrutiny, overseeing auditing practices to ensure adherence to ethical standards. The ripple effects of this act transformed the corporate landscape. Firms were subjected to rigorous audits, and board members found themselves accountable for the integrity of financial practices. Compliance became a focal point, altering the operational dynamics within organizations across various sectors. In this climate of heightened regulation, many companies reevaluated their internal controls and governance structures. The act sought to prevent the recurrence of fraudulent activities, fostering a more stable financial environment, albeit at the cost of increased compliance burdens for businesses. The legacy of this response continues to influence corporate behavior today. Rebuilding trust in corporate governance became an essential focus in the aftermath of financial scandals. Initiatives emerged aimed at establishing a more transparent framework, emphasizing accountability over complacency. New regulations were instituted, mandating higher standards of disclosure and rigorous auditing practices. This environment sought to deter unethical behaviors that had persisted for decades. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act represented a significant shift in corporate oversight, introducing stringent requirements for financial reporting. Companies found themselves under increased scrutiny, with independent audits becoming a norm rather than an exception. This legislation aimed to ensure that stakeholders could rely on corporate financial statements, effectively restoring a degree of confidence that had been shattered. Organizations began investing in compliance programs, recognizing that ethical practices were now fundamental to their operations. Training sessions for executives and employees became commonplace, reinforcing the importance of integrity in business dealings. The introduction of whistleblower protections encouraged transparency, allowing individuals within companies to report misconduct without fear of retaliation. In this renewed landscape, the role of boards of directors evolved. A commitment to diversity and independence became prioritized, fostering a more balanced approach to governance. This commitment to ethical leadership aimed to forge a path toward a sustainable future, where trust could be gradually rebuilt amidst the remnants of past failures. The remnants of past failures revealed critical lessons in the realms of ethics in accounting and business practices. A deeper examination of this decline illuminated the perils of prioritizing profit over integrity. The consequences of such decisions were not only financial, they extended to the very fabric of corporate culture. The erosion of trust within an organization often started with small compromises, which gradually escalated into systemic issues. New frameworks began to emerge, emphasizing the importance of transparency and accountability. These principles were designed to prevent the recurrence of similar failures, fostering a culture where ethical conduct was paramount. Rigorous adherence to guidelines in financial reporting became essential, ensuring that stakeholders were accurately informed. Conflicts of interest were scrutinized, as they had the potential to undermine the core values of an organization. Training programs focused on ethical decision-making proliferated, aiming to instill a sense of responsibility in employees at all levels. Boards of directors were encouraged to adopt a more active role in overseeing financial practices, serving as guardians against misconduct. This shift in perspective underscored the realization that ethical leadership is not merely a corporate obligation, but a vital component of long-term sustainability. In this evolving landscape, the emphasis on ethics transformed into a strategic advantage, ensuring that companies could navigate the complexities of the modern business environment with integrity. The global repercussions of the WorldCom debacle reverberated through financial markets and regulatory bodies alike. Disturbances in investor confidence prompted an urgent reassessment of existing financial practices. This incident acted as a catalyst, igniting discussions about the necessity for stricter oversight and transparency across international borders. Governments began to scrutinize their own regulatory frameworks, seeking to prevent similar occurrences. The fallout led to the establishment of reforms, such as the Sarbanes-Oxley Act in the United States, which mandated rigorous reporting standards and internal controls for publicly traded companies. Other nations observed these developments closely, recognizing the potential for a widespread shift in governance practices. In Europe, the European Union took steps to align its regulations with enhanced standards of corporate accountability, leading to the adoption of the Market Abuse Directive. These changes aimed to safeguard investors and restore trust in financial systems. The WorldCom case served as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of global finance. As companies expanded operations internationally, the need for harmonized regulations became apparent. Multinational corporations faced heightened scrutiny, and the calls for ethical governance echoed in boardrooms from New York to Tokyo. This evolving regulatory landscape continues to shape the conduct of businesses, emphasizing compliance and ethical behavior as essential components of corporate strategy. The consequences of WorldCom's collapse reached far beyond the immediate financial repercussions. This monumental failure sparked a significant shift in telecommunications policy, prompting regulators to reevaluate existing frameworks and establish more robust oversight mechanisms. The telecommunications sector, marked by rapid growth and innovation, required a comprehensive approach to governance that addressed the vulnerabilities exposed by this instance of corporate misconduct. With the introduction of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act in 2002, new standards were implemented for financial reporting and accountability. This legislation aimed to restore investor confidence by mandating greater transparency and stricter penalties for fraudulent activity. The evolution of telecommunications policy began to reflect an understanding that the industry's complexities necessitated diligent monitoring and ethical governance protocols. Telecommunications companies found themselves under increased scrutiny, leading to an era characterized by enhanced compliance requirements. Regulatory bodies focused on ensuring that firms maintained ethical practices, prioritizing the safeguarding of consumer interests and the stability of financial markets. This shift fostered a climate where integrity became a cornerstone of corporate culture, with organizations actively engaging in practices designed to prevent the recurrence of financial impropriety. The legacy left by WorldCom serves as an enduring reminder of the importance of ethical governance in telecommunications, reshaping the industry's landscape for years to come. Public perception underwent a significant transformation in the wake of WorldCom's collapse. The revelation of fraudulent activities not only shocked investors, but also instigated a widespread skepticism toward corporate governance. Trust, once a foundational element in the relationship between companies and their stakeholders, began to erode, leading to a more vigilant and discerning public. This cultural shift prompted individuals and organizations alike to scrutinize the ethical practices of companies more closely. Shareholders, once passive participants, sought transparency and accountability. The demand for clearer financial reporting became paramount, as investors recognized the necessity of due diligence in a landscape marred by deception. The ramifications of WorldCom extended beyond financial losses. They initiated a collective reevaluation of corporate ethics. Legislative measures followed, as governments recognized the need for stricter regulations to protect stakeholders from similar malfeasance. This resulted in frameworks that emphasized financial integrity and responsible governance. Educational institutions integrated ethics into business curricula, preparing future leaders to navigate the complexities of corporate responsibility. The telecommunications sector, once a beacon of innovation, found itself grappling with reputational damage, prompting a reevaluation of its practices. Companies began prioritizing ethical training and compliance programs, striving to rebuild public trust. In this evolving environment, the lessons learned from WorldCom became integral to shaping a new standard of corporate conduct. The landscape of corporate fraud is marked by numerous high-profile cases that parallel the WorldCom incident. Enron serves as a prime example, where the manipulation of financial statements led to the collapse of a once-esteemed energy company. This particular failure illuminated the dangers of unchecked accounting practices and the ethical lapses that can arise within a culture of greed. Another notable case is that of Tyco International, where executives misappropriated funds for personal gain, resulting in substantial financial losses and a tarnished reputation. The ensuing legal battles and investigations revealed systemic issues within corporate governance that echoed the shortcomings seen at WorldCom. The collapse of Lehman Brothers in 2008 further exemplified the consequences of financial misconduct, excessive risk-taking combined with misleading reporting. These incidents share common threads of deception, a lack of oversight, and a prioritization of personal wealth over ethical standards. The aftermath saw regulatory bodies tightening their grip on corporate practices, leading to reforms such as the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. This act aimed to restore public trust by enforcing stricter accountability measures, a response to the rampant financial misdeeds that have periodically destabilized markets. The echoes of these failures continue to resonate within the corridors of corporate America. Financial analysts tasked with the responsibility of evaluating the health of corporations found themselves at a critical juncture during this period of decline. Their reports, once thought to encapsulate the essence of a company's performance, failed to capture the troubling signs that lingered beneath the surface. The metrics they relied upon presented an illusion of stability, obscuring the pervasive issues that would. As profits appeared robust, scrutiny waned. Analysts, lured by the allure of consistent growth, overlooked discrepancies in financial reporting. The pressure to maintain favorable ratings created an environment where doubts were stifled. This phenomenon was not isolated, it permeated the industry, leading many to dismiss anomalies that, in hindsight, were glaringly apparent. The reliance on established relationships with corporate executives further complicated the evaluation process. Trust, once a cornerstone of financial analysis, eroded as conflicts of interest emerged. Analysts found themselves navigating a landscape where allegiance to their firms often eclipsed objective assessment. This compromised judgment contributed to a collective blindness regarding the impending crisis. The repercussions of the internet bubble burst sent shockwaves throughout the telecommunications industry. Investment in new technologies, once perceived as a guaranteed path to prosperity, began to evaporate. Excessive speculation characterized this era, leading to inflated valuations of companies that could not sustain their models. The environment shifted abruptly, leaving many entities scrambling to reassess their financial health and market positions. Telecommunication companies, particularly those heavily invested in fiber optic networks and high-speed internet infrastructure, faced mounting pressure. The promise of exponential growth gave way to stark realities, revealing overcapacity and dwindling demand. These once vibrant enterprises found themselves burdened by debt, their financial strategies rendered obsolete. Financial reports began to surface, each revealing deeper losses and the erosion of consumer confidence. Market expectations plummeted, leading to a wave of layoffs and restructuring efforts aimed at survival. This environment of uncertainty only exacerbated the existing vulnerabilities among major players, including WorldCom. The fallout from the bubble burst was pervasive, causing a reevaluation of corporate governance and oversight practices. It exposed not only the fragility of business models, but also the moral hazards that had taken root within the culture of corporate America. The ramifications extended beyond individual companies, shaping the very landscape of the telecommunications sector for years to come. The repercussions were profound for employees, many of whom had dedicated their careers to the organization. A significant number of them found their pensions and retirement funds in jeopardy. With the company's stock plummeting, the once promising investments turned into losses, leaving countless individuals facing an uncertain future. Retirement plans heavily tied to stock performance suffered immensely, as the value of their holdings diminished rapidly. The financial security that had been built over decades vanished almost overnight. Such losses not only impacted the current workforce, but also those who had already transitioned into retirement. Many retirees relied on these funds for basic living expenses, and the sudden decline forced them to rethink their lifestyles and financial plans. The loss of jobs compounded the situation. Layoffs swept through the organization, further diminishing the hope of recovery for employees. Those who remained faced an environment filled with uncertainty, their loyalty overshadowed by the specter of impending layoffs. These events rippled through the wider community, as families adjusted to reduced incomes and heightened financial anxiety. The once thriving workplace, filled with promise and opportunity, transformed into a shadow of its former self. Emotional and financial stress weighed heavily as individuals navigated the aftermath of corporate greed and deception. The scars left behind would linger long after the dust settled. A pervasive corporate culture contributed significantly to the downfall of this once mighty telecommunications giant. The environment prioritized aggressive growth and profit maximization. Fear of failure loomed large within the organization, stifling open communication and dissenting opinions. Whistleblowers became rare, as the climate discouraged reporting of potential misconduct. Those who raised concerns faced backlash, further entrenching a culture that valued loyalty over honesty. The leadership, in their pursuit of continued expansion, fostered an atmosphere where financial manipulation became not only tolerated but expected. As the company spiraled deeper into fraudulent practices, it became increasingly disconnected from its core values. This detachment did not go unnoticed by stakeholders and investors, whose trust eroded as revelations of deceit surfaced. The eventual collapse underscored the critical importance of a healthy corporate culture. Lessons learned from this environment highlight the necessity for ethical leadership, accountability, and an unwavering commitment to transparency. In the end, the consequences of neglecting these fundamentals became painfully evident, leaving a cautionary tale etched in the annals of business history. A profound shift in investor attitudes emerged in the wake of these revelations. Once characterized by unwavering confidence, the atmosphere transitioned into one of deep skepticism, transforming the landscape of corporate investment. Trust, which had long been the bedrock of financial markets, began to erode as the ramifications of deceit unfolded. This environment fostered a pervasive wariness, a growing reluctance to engage with companies, regardless of their apparent stability or past performance. Financial analysts, once revered for their insights, became increasingly scrutinized as investors demanded transparency and accountability. The optimism that had fueled the rise of many corporations faded, replaced by a cautious approach that prioritized due diligence over blind faith. The foundations of investment began to shift dramatically, with an emerging emphasis on rigorous analysis rather than reliance on established reputations. This change was not limited to individual investors. Institutional actors also recalibrated their strategies, implementing stricter oversight and adopting a more conservative posture. The reverberations of these adjustments rippled throughout the financial markets, leading to a more pronounced demand for ethical governance and integrity. What had once seemed an idyllic partnership between corporations and their investors had transformed into a landscape fraught with doubt, where transparency dictated trust and skepticism prevailed. The implications of this evolution continue to influence corporate behavior and investment strategies in the present day. The process of liquidation unfolded methodically, a necessity following the revelation of extensive financial discrepancies. Assets once considered invaluable were systematically assessed, each piece scrutinized to determine its worth in a landscape of eroded trust. Buildings, equipment, and technology that had propelled WorldCom to prominence were now mere commodities in a desperate attempt to salvage remaining value. Buyers emerged, often with reluctance, driven by the potential for discounted prices amid a landscape rife with uncertainty. Telecommunications infrastructure, once the backbone of a burgeoning empire, found itself fragmented and undervalued. The sale of these assets marked a stark departure from their original purpose, now viewed solely through the lens of financial recovery. Key locations were vacated, their absence resonating within the corporate psyche of the industry. Employees witnessed firsthand the dismantling of what was once a thriving organization, the echoes of opportunity fading into silence. Technology that had promised innovation was sold off in pieces to competitors and private equity firms, each transaction underscoring the dramatic fall from grace. Legal complexities accompanied the liquidation process, as creditors sought to reclaim their investments amidst the chaos. The atmosphere remained charged with tension, each decision reflecting the harsh realities of a company in decline, a cautionary tale for future enterprises navigating the intricate dynamics of finance and ethics. Bankruptcy courts emerged as an essential arena in the unraveling of the fading company, providing a structured environment where the complexities of financial turmoil could be addressed. In this region of legal proceedings, Chapter 11 served as a lifeline, granting temporary relief from creditors while allowing for a potential reorganization of assets and liabilities. The court's involvement introduced a methodical examination of WorldCom's financial records, revealing the extensive accounting irregularities that contributed to its downfall. The proceedings were marked by meticulous scrutiny of the company's practices, exposing the depths of deception that had plagued its operations. Key stakeholders, including creditors and shareholders, gathered to present their claims and concerns, their voices echoing through the hall. A sense of urgency permeated the atmosphere as each party sought to navigate the intricacies of their interests in the wake of substantial losses. As the bankruptcy case progressed, the court facilitated negotiations aimed at restructuring WorldCom's debts. It became a pivotal space for discussions about the future of the organization. Reorganization efforts emerged in response to the mounting pressures facing the company. Executives recognized the need for a comprehensive plan to restore credibility and stabilize operations. This initiative aimed to create a streamlined structure that would eliminate redundancies and focus resources on core business functions. Consultants were engaged to devise strategies that would facilitate the transition. The emphasis shifted towards improved financial reporting and increased transparency, essential components for regaining investor trust. The restructuring involved significant layoffs, impacting thousands of employees. This dislocation resulted in a palpable sense of uncertainty within the workforce as individuals grappled with the prospect of an unstable future. In parallel, management sought to divest non-core assets, focusing on telecommunications services that remained profitable. This approach was intended to strengthen the balance sheet and redirect financial resources towards areas with growth potential. Despite these efforts, the underlying issues of financial mismanagement continued to overshadow the restructuring process. Attempts to stabilize the company were further complicated by ongoing investigations into accounting practices. Legal challenges loomed large, creating an increasingly hostile environment. The organization struggled to regain momentum, with the market response to announcements often negative. Investors remained skeptical, reflecting a deep-seated distrust that had developed in the wake of the scandal. The path to recovery appeared fraught with obstacles, as hope for revival diminished over time. The acquisition marked a pivotal moment in the history of this region's telecommunications landscape. Verizon's strategic decision to absorb WorldCom was driven by a need for consolidation amidst increasing competition and technological advancements. The integration of these two entities promised to create a formidable force, a behemoth able to navigate the rapidly shifting market dynamics. WorldCom's vast infrastructure, once a symbol of its former glory, became a valuable asset. Networks that spanned miles, connecting millions, held potential for revitalization under new leadership. Verizon, equipped with resources and a vision, endeavored to streamline operations and restore confidence among stakeholders. The once fading company now found itself under a banner promising stability and innovation. Amidst the transition, employees experienced a blend of uncertainty and cautious optimism. The remnants of past failures loomed large, yet the prospect of revitalization fostered a renewed sense of purpose. Efforts to integrate corporate cultures unfolded gradually as workforce alignment became essential. Customers, too, felt the ramifications of this shift. Services previously tainted by scandal began to evolve as new offerings emerged in response to changing consumer needs. This alignment with modern technology signaled a departure from the shadows of financial deceit, marking the dawn of a new era in telecommunications. The landscape, once marred by turmoil, now stood on the brink of transformation. The decline of this corporate giant rippled through the community, leaving behind a profound social impact. Once a beacon of innovation and growth, it became a symbol of lost potential and shattered trust. Thousands of employees faced sudden unemployment, their livelihoods abruptly severed from the promise of stability. Families were thrust into uncertainty, grappling with financial strain and loss of health benefits. Local businesses that flourished due to the influx of WorldCom's economic activity experienced a sharp decline. The vibrant energy that once characterized this region faded as storefronts shuttered and foot traffic diminished. Community events, once supported by corporate sponsorships, dwindled, marking a stark contrast to the previous era of prosperity. Public sentiment shifted as residents questioned the ethos of their local economy. The collective disillusionment manifested in reduced consumer confidence, which further stunted recovery efforts. This decline in morale was palpable as community meetings filled with anxious discussions of the future became commonplace. Tax revenues plummeted, burdening local governments with the challenge of maintaining essential services. Educational institutions faced funding cuts, limiting resources for students who were the future of this community. The ripple effects of a singular corporate failure reached far beyond balance sheets, fundamentally altering the very fabric of this region's economy and its society. A profound shift occurred within the telecommunications sector, spurred by the consequences of this corporate collapse. The landscape transformed as regulators began to scrutinize existing practices more rigorously. A sense of urgency emerged, compelling legislative bodies to implement stringent reforms aimed at safeguarding investors and consumers alike. These measures sought to restore confidence in a beleaguered industry. New regulations introduced requirements for enhanced transparency and accountability among telecommunications firms. This included the establishment of rigorous auditing standards and the enforcement of ethical governance practices. The intent was clear: to prevent similar failures from undermining public trust and to foster a more resilient market environment. Companies now faced increased oversight, which altered operational dynamics significantly. The influence of these regulatory changes extended beyond mere compliance. Firms adapted to the new landscape, investing resources in compliance departments and altering their financial reporting structures. The shift in focus also prompted a wave of consolidation within the industry, as smaller players sought stability in partnerships, fearing potential repercussions from the evolving regulatory framework. Consequently, innovation faced both barriers and opportunities. While the increased oversight slowed down certain risk-taking ventures, it also paved the way for developments in technology and service offerings driven by a cautious yet determined approach. This delicate balance between regulation and innovation defined a new era in telecommunications. Corporate governance movements emerged as a direct response to the pervasive scandals that tarnished the reputation of numerous corporations. These initiatives sought to address the systemic failures that allowed financial misconduct to proliferate unchecked. They introduced frameworks intended to enhance transparency, accountability, and ethical conduct within organizations. A collective realization settled over the business community that safeguarding the trust of stakeholders was paramount. These movements gained momentum through the establishment of stricter regulatory measures and guidelines. New legislation mandated greater oversight of financial practices, compelling companies to adopt rigorous governance structures. Boards of directors found themselves under increased scrutiny, tasked with ensuring that their organizations adhered to these evolving standards. The fallout from high-profile failures prompted a reevaluation of executive compensation, risk management, and shareholder rights. In this landscape, investors began to demand a higher degree of responsibility from the companies they supported. Shareholder activism flourished, with individuals and groups advocating for reforms that would fortify corporate integrity. These efforts aim to cultivate a culture of ethical leadership and responsible decision-making. The financial community began to recognize that the sustainability of corporations depended not solely on profit margins, but also on the moral compass guiding their operations. This shift marked a significant turning point, heralding a new era of corporate accountability in the wake of extensive malfeasance. Advancements in technology emerged as a crucial factor in the prevention of future corporate fraud. Enhanced data analytics capabilities allowed for more rigorous monitoring of financial transactions. Sophisticated algorithms enabled companies to detect anomalies in real time, creating an environment less conducive to deceit. Automated systems provided comprehensive oversight, ensuring transparency in financial reporting. These developments fostered a culture of accountability within organizations. The integration of artificial intelligence offered unprecedented insights, enabling companies to scrutinize patterns that might have previously gone unnoticed. This analytical prowess extended beyond mere compliance, inspiring a proactive approach to risk management. The adoption of blockchain technology introduced immutable records, further solidifying trust in financial transactions. In this evolving landscape, the role of auditors transformed. They began to rely heavily on technological tools, enhancing their ability to conduct thorough examinations of financial statements. Continuous auditing became more feasible, granting organizations the capacity to identify discrepancies promptly. This shift encouraged a collaborative environment where internal teams worked alongside technology to uphold ethical standards. Regulatory bodies also embraced technological advancements, implementing stricter compliance requirements. Real-time reporting obligations emerged, compelling companies to maintain absolute accuracy in their disclosures. These measures reflected a commitment to restoring public confidence, demonstrating that lessons learned from the past were instrumental in shaping a more secure financial future. The emergence of new auditing practices marked a significant shift in the financial landscape. In response to the WorldCom debacle, regulatory bodies introduced more stringent guidelines, emphasizing transparency and accountability. This region of corporate governance witnessed a recalibration of priorities, placing a premium on ethical standards and rigorous oversight. Firms began to adopt enhanced internal controls, ensuring that financial reporting was not only accurate but also reflective of true operational conditions. They implemented comprehensive risk assessment protocols, allowing for a proactive approach to identifying potential discrepancies before they escalated into crises. In this evolving environment, the role of external auditors transformed. It became essential for them to adopt a more investigative approach, moving beyond mere compliance checks. Increased scrutiny of financial statements led to deeper examinations of underlying assumptions and estimates, fostering a culture of skepticism. Education and training for auditors gained prominence, equipping professionals with the skills needed to navigate complex financial instruments and regulatory frameworks. These developments encouraged a collaborative relationship between auditors and management, promoting an atmosphere of shared responsibility in maintaining the integrity of financial reporting. The legacy of WorldCom continued to influence best practices, underscoring the necessity for vigilance and ethical conduct in the pursuit of corporate governance. Such measures represented critical steps in restoring trust within the financial system. The introduction of stringent regulations prompted a transformative shift in corporate training methodologies. Organizations began to prioritize the cultivation of an ethical workplace, recognizing that the integrity of their operations hinged on the moral compass of their employees. This emphasis on ethics manifested in comprehensive training programs designed to instill a culture of transparency and accountability. Training sessions often focused on the importance of ethical decision-making, emphasizing the role each employee plays in maintaining corporate integrity. Workshops and seminars became commonplace, with facilitators guiding discussions on real-world scenarios that showcase the consequences of ethical breaches. Participants learned to navigate complex moral dilemmas, fostering a heightened awareness of the implications of their actions. Companies invested significantly in developing resources that supported ethical behavior. Codes of conduct were meticulously crafted and disseminated, serving as frameworks for employees to reference. Leadership committed to modeling ethical behavior, creating an environment where employees felt empowered to voice concerns without fear of retribution. This commitment to openness contributed to a gradual rebuilding of trust, not only within the organization, but also with stakeholders, customers, and the community at large. The journey towards fostering an ethical workplace was neither swift nor straightforward. It required ongoing dedication, continuous education, and a relentless pursuit of integrity, reshaping the corporate landscape in the wake of past failures. The psychological profile of corporate leaders often reveals a complex interplay of ambition, risk tolerance, and decision-making under pressure. This region, once characterized by a drive for profitability, began to show signs of a grim reality where some executives prioritized personal gain over transparency. In the shadows of financial missteps, a tendency towards overconfidence emerged, leading to a distorted perception of risk. This inclination frequently masked the inherent fragility of the corporate structure. As leaders pursued aggressive strategies, the consequences of their decisions became apparent. A culture of compliance eroded, replaced by an atmosphere where ethical considerations were secondary to financial performance. These ruins of past decisions illustrate a broader trend. The absence of a robust moral framework can catalyze catastrophic outcomes, creating an environment ripe for failure. The psychological toll on executives often included stress and isolation as they faced mounting scrutiny. In these moments, the dichotomy between personal ambition and corporate responsibility became stark. The resulting decline served as a somber reminder that unchecked greed can lead to irrevocable damage. Understanding these patterns becomes essential for current and future leaders, fostering a learning environment that emphasizes accountability and ethical governance. The lessons learned from such failures resonate through time, urging a reevaluation of priorities within the corporate sphere. Stakeholders often serve as the backbone of corporate accountability, providing essential checks and balances. In the case of WorldCom, it became evident that the lack of engagement from investors, employees, and regulatory bodies contributed to the unraveling of ethical standards. This region of corporate governance highlights the intricate web of responsibility shared by all parties involved. The investors, once enamored with the promise of rapid growth and high returns, found themselves at a loss as the reality of deceit unfolded. Their trust, once a vital component of the company's financial ecosystem, evaporated in the face of blatant misrepresentation. Employees, initially motivated by a shared vision, grappled with the disillusionment stemming from the knowledge that their contributions had been undermined. Regulatory bodies, tasked with oversight, faced scrutiny for their delayed reactions, exposing vulnerabilities in the systems designed to protect stakeholders. Each of these groups, interconnected yet distinct, underscores the cascading effects of corporate failure. Accountability is not merely a top-down directive. It requires active participation from all involved. The ruins of WorldCom illustrate how the collective silence of stakeholders can enable unethical practices. In the aftermath, a renewed emphasis on transparency and communication emerged, striving to foster a culture where accountability becomes an inherent value within corporate structures. The echoes of this failure continue to shape contemporary approaches to governance. The shift towards transparency in financial reporting emerged as a direct response to the events surrounding WorldCom. This monumental collapse underscored the need for stricter oversight and clearer financial practices. In the wake of such a significant breach of trust, regulatory bodies began to reevaluate existing frameworks, leading to the enactment of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. This legislation imposed rigorous requirements on public companies, emphasizing the necessity for accurate financial disclosures. Auditors became crucial figures in the evolving landscape, tasked with ensuring compliance and reinforcing accountability. Their role expanded beyond mere verification to include a commitment to maintaining ethical standards in financial reporting. Enhanced internal controls were mandated, fostering an environment where transparency was no longer optional. The financial community responded to these changes with a renewed focus on integrity. Companies began to implement robust systems for tracking and reporting financial data, aiming to instill confidence among investors and stakeholders. This era marked a departure from the prior obscurity, promoting clarity in financial statements and operations. Investors, armed with more comprehensive information, became more discerning, demanding transparency as a prerequisite for trust. This transformation signaled a societal shift towards valuing honesty in business practices, laying a foundation for more resilient corporate governance. The embers of past failures ignited a commitment to ethical financial conduct, reshaping the future of corporate accountability. This commitment to ethical financial conduct emerged in the wake of profound lessons learned from significant corporate failures. Risk management, once an overlooked aspect of corporate strategy, was thrust into the spotlight. The WorldCom scandal illuminated the dire consequences of negligence in oversight and accountability. As it unfolded, it became clear that the absence of robust risk management frameworks had allowed financial malfeasance to flourish unchecked. New methodologies began to surface in response to the inadequacies observed during this tumultuous period. Companies began to prioritize transparency, implementing rigorous compliance measures designed to safeguard stakeholders and ensure integrity in financial reporting. This region of corporate governance saw the adoption of advanced analytics, leveraging data to identify potential vulnerabilities before they could escalate into crises. Attention shifted from reactive to proactive strategies, recognizing that an anticipatory approach could mitigate risks effectively. The development of dedicated risk management teams became commonplace, fostering a culture where potential issues were addressed before they manifested into larger problems. The legacy of WorldCom served as a cautionary tale, reinforcing the need for continuous evaluation and adaptation of risk management practices. This evolution propelled organizations toward a more ethical and responsible corporate landscape as they sought to rebuild trust and credibility in an increasingly skeptical market. WorldCom's downfall serves as a cautionary tale in corporate responsibility, illuminating the consequences of financial misconduct. The telecommunications giant, once a beacon of growth in the late 20th century, became synonymous with one of the largest accounting scandals in history. At its zenith, it employed over 80,000 people and boasted a market value exceeding $180 billion. This ascent, however, was built on a precarious foundation of deception. The public, initially captivated by its rapid expansion, soon found itself embroiled in a crisis of trust. When the fraudulent practices came to light in 2002, the revelation of inflated earnings and misleading financial statements shattered investor confidence. The subsequent bankruptcy marked a pivotal moment, impacting countless stakeholders, from employees to shareholders and the broader economy. Amid the fallout, discussions around corporate governance intensified. Regulatory bodies and legislators responded with a flurry of reforms aimed at safeguarding against future transgressions. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act, for instance, emerged as a direct response to the perceived failures of oversight and accountability. In this region, the lessons from WorldCom were not lost on emerging corporations, which increasingly embraced transparency and ethical conduct as foundational principles for long-term success. The once vibrant company, now a relic of greed and ambition, serves as a reminder of the delicate balance between growth and responsibility. The enduring legacy of this fading company resonates deeply within the current landscape of business ethics. Corporate leaders and strategists reflect on the events surrounding WorldCom, acknowledging the profound implications of its practices. This case remains a pivotal reference point in discussions about accountability, governance, and the ethical responsibilities of corporations. Many organizations now prioritize rigorous internal controls and compliance mechanisms, driven by the desire to avoid the pitfalls that led to WorldCom's downfall. The very structures that once facilitated deception have been dismantled or reinforced, creating a fortified environment against malpractice. Training programs in ethical decision-making have gained prominence, aiming to cultivate a culture of integrity. Educational institutions have integrated the WorldCom saga into their curricula, emphasizing the importance of ethical leadership. The narrative serves as a cautionary tale, illustrating the potential consequences of prioritizing short-term gains over long-term sustainability. The public, too, has become more discerning, increasingly holding companies accountable for their actions. In this evolving landscape, the principles established in the wake of WorldCom's collapse continue to shape the expectations for corporate conduct. They highlight an essential truth: ethical behavior must permeate all levels of an organization. The lessons learned endure, guiding a new generation of leaders toward a more responsible and transparent future. Shareholder activism emerged as a significant force, reshaping corporate governance and influencing decision-making processes. This phenomenon found roots in the disillusionment with traditional management practices, particularly in the wake of high-profile failures. An increasing number of investors began to recognize their power, demanding accountability and advocating for more ethical standards. A shift occurred within boardrooms as these stakeholders sought to ensure that companies operated not solely for profit, but with an eye toward sustainability and social responsibility. Institutional investors, in particular, began to wield considerable influence, often aligning their interests with broader societal concerns. This marked a departure from mere financial returns, as they pressed for transparency in reporting and greater scrutiny of financial practices. Dissenting shareholders frequently mobilized to challenge corporate policies, pushing for significant changes. Proposals regarding executive pay, environmental impact, and social governance gained traction, illustrating the evolution of expectations surrounding corporate behavior. The repercussions of this activism were palpable, as management teams became increasingly aware of their constituents' expectations. The relationship between shareholders and corporations began to evolve from a passive acceptance to active participation, fostering a climate where dialogue replaced complacency. This new paradigm suggested a future where corporate integrity would not just be a slogan, but a fundamental aspect of business strategy. The narrative surrounding corporate oversight shifted dramatically in the wake of WorldCom's collapse. This event exposed the vulnerabilities within existing regulatory frameworks, revealing inadequacies that had allowed unethical practices to flourish. The fallout prompted a reevaluation of governance structures and accountability measures across various industries. In this altered landscape, the need for transparency became paramount. Organizations began to recognize that robust reporting mechanisms were essential not only for compliance, but also for rebuilding trust with stakeholders. The rise of ethical standards gained momentum, as businesses sought to align their operations with the expectations of an increasingly discerning public. In this region of corporate evolution, leaders embraced the idea that oversight must evolve alongside growing complexities in financial practices. Enhanced auditing processes emerged as a critical component, with firms implementing comprehensive risk assessments to preemptively identify potential areas of concern. This proactive stance encouraged a culture of ethical vigilance, where employees felt empowered to speak up against misconduct without fear of reprisal. The lessons learned from this corporate failure extended beyond individual companies. Regulatory bodies also recognized the necessity for more stringent regulations and enforcement mechanisms. Legislative reforms, such as the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, aimed to fortify the principles of accountability and transparency, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. The path forward demanded a collective commitment to reimagining corporate integrity within the framework of business operations. The imperative for ethical leadership resonates profoundly within the echoes of WorldCom's downfall. The collapse of this once prominent telecommunications giant serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of misplaced priorities and unchecked ambition. It illustrates how financial fraud can infiltrate the very fabric of an organization, leading to devastating repercussions not only for shareholders, but also for employees and communities. Corporate culture, shaped by leadership decisions, often determines the trajectory of an organization. In the case of WorldCom, a culture that prioritized short-term gains over long-term sustainability fostered an environment conducive to unethical practices. The failure to uphold principles of transparency and accountability. This region, once bustling with promise, now stands as a testament to the necessity of ethical governance. The lessons drawn from this narrative emphasize the importance of cultivating leaders who prioritize integrity and ethical conduct. Organizations must establish robust frameworks that promote honesty and responsibility, ensuring that the pursuit of profit does not eclipse moral obligations. As the remnants of WorldCom serve as a cautionary tale, the corporate landscape must shift toward a future where ethical leadership is not merely an aspiration, but a fundamental expectation, guiding businesses towards sustainable success.